Welcome to the forest in the fall. I've been working here on this little section of my snowshoeing trail. Just cleaning up debris so that I won't be tripping on big pieces of wood while I'm snowshoeing. And although I've come through here hundreds of times over the years, it tends to be in the wintertime. And it just so happens that as I was working in this spot, my eyes turned to this baby chestnut tree. American chestnut, of course. You can always assume I'm talking about an American chestnut. This is the perfect time of year to look for little American chestnuts in the forest, because everything else has either dropped their leaves or they've turned yellow, with very few exceptions. So it makes it very easy to zero in on something like this that still has its green leaves, as they do, as a rule. And so that's how it was so easy to spot. I was just here at the right time when everything else is yellow or bare, and look at this beautiful little bunch of green leaves. This was a few days ago. It was completely covered in leaves at that time, but it's been very cold and windy and rainy and lots of hail, actually. In fact, you can see the damage to some of these leaves by the hail, where the ice just rips right through the leaf. But nevertheless, there are still some leaves on here to show you what I found a few days ago. So if you're the sort that wants to look for little American chestnut trees in the forest, now is the time. Mid to late October, when they still have their green leaves, and it's easier to spot them. Now, there's a lot more to say about this little tree. In fact, I should have started out by pointing out, as my first statement, that this tree, this little tiny thing, is well over 100 years old. How can that be, you may wonder? Well, it's because here, this much larger, rotting, dead carcass is the original chestnut tree. This is still part of it. When they have the blight, as the tree dies, it sends up suckers, little baby versions of itself all around the bottom of the tree. And you can see this right now with the dead grandmother chestnut tree that just died a few months ago. And you can actually see not only that she has sent up all kinds of suckers at the bottom, but that there's already been an attempt made by her to send up another full tree from one of those suckers, what's called pole-sized. And as you can see, that one has died also, long ago actually. The grandmother tree did such an incredible job fighting off the blight that she outlived the pole tree that grew from her. And that pole tree now has suckers on it as well. And so that's what happened here, is first there was the very large tree, very large, that was obviously growing before the blight came here around the year 1900. And it sent up a pole tree. And that pole tree died. And that one sent up a pole tree, and that one died. And here, these suckers, because there's not just the one, there's a bunch of them, are all coming up from the remains of the last attempt that actually made it to pole size. And the reason that these are not growing is because no one has been tending to these. And the forest is thick and dense here. Now that the leaves are falling off of the big trees, there's spotted sunlight coming through here. But all through the growing season, this was in shade. And how can a young chestnut tree with the blight have any chance of growing in the shade with the blight? So I've brought along my little trusty handsaw, and I'm going to cut some of the smaller trees here that are shading it just to open it up a little bit. There's nothing I'm going to do about these giant maples and oaks and bitternut hickories and everything else under the sun. But these smaller trees I will get rid of to open it up just that little bit so that some more light can get through. And most importantly, I brought some fencing to protect this from the deer, because that's actually just as bad, if not worse, than the lack of sunlight here because of all the tree cover, is the constant grazing by the deer, the way that they trim it as they walk past. Because there are so many of these little suckers here, and I don't yet know which one is going to be the most fit, I'm going to try to cover them all. So I'm going to have to bunch them together to get this mesh around them. It's going to be a little bit of fiddly work. But if I twist it around just right, and grab it just right, it should be columnar enough. Unfortunately, this top part is not cooperating, but I'm going to twist these together to make it more straight. And once I get it started, it's just a matter of manhandling it a bit. And then switching hands so that I can pull the screen down. And once I've got it relatively well covered, I can untwist the mess that I made to get it on. At least now the deer can't get to it. As you can see, it's quite fiddly. But I think this will do now. Unfortunately, one is not covered. But I should be able to tuck it under. Everyone is safe now. And next year, I'll be able to better determine which is going to be the strongest. I may leave a few of them for a few years. We'll see how they go. But this is very exciting.